Right. Yeah. So here it is. We're going to discuss it. You have to be living under a rock if you haven't heard about this case. This black 18-year-old kid who went on a trip, apparently July 4th, with a group of his white friends, at least four, on a boating trip to this portion right off of Mississippi, an island about 12 miles, I think I've heard, off of the Gulf Coast, Horn Island, where he went with his friends to enjoy July 4th, spent time on the boat, it looks like, drinking, just having fun. Young kids, 18 years old, and ends up not coming back with those friends that he left with in that boat. And there's been a lot of controversy, a lot of discussions have been had, a lot of thoughts, a lot of conspiracies, that kind of thing. This is one of those situations where everyone has their own theories. Um, and so I decided to look a little bit into it to see what's going on. And all right, so here what we have here: Nolan Xavier Wells is an 18-year-old college football player from Ocean Springs, Mississippi, who was tragically found dead in July 2026 after going missing during a 4th of July boat trip to Horn Island. Wells was born and raised in Mississippi, growing up in a close-knit family where he was supported by his parents and community. From an early age, he showed a strong interest in sports, particularly football, and developed discipline, determination, and a positive attitude that carried him throughout his athletic career. He attended Ocean Springs High School, where he was recognized as a talented athlete and a respected teammate. After high school, Wells enrolled in Southwest Mississippi Community College, where he played wide receiver on his football team. Coaches described him as humble, respectful, and a leader who worked hard and set an example for others. He was also known for his versatility, having played basketball and even taken swimming lessons with friends. Even taking swimming lessons. That's very important part of this right here. It says lessons. It didn't say that he was an accomplished swimmer at all. Um, Even a person that's an accomplished swimmer is going to have a hard time in those currents that surround the Horn Island, from what I understand. They call that area of the water the washing machine because of the how the currents go from one way to the other at any moment's notice. Personality and reputation. Friends and coaches spoke highly of Wells' character, calling him happy-go-lucky, conscientious, and respectful. He was described as someone who uplifted others and was well liked by classmates and teammates. The incident took place on July 4th, 2026, when Wells took a boat with his friends to Horn Island, a barrier island off of the Mississippi Gulf Coast. He was last seen around 3 p.m. and did not return with the group that left around 4:30 p.m. when the boat had a bilge pump issue. I don't know what that means. His body was recovered from the island's northwest tip on July the 6th. So 2 days, they could not find him. As far as his family, his mother, Christine Wisely, has been the most visible spokesperson for the family, sharing her grief and calling for answers. His father, Elmore Wisely, has also been mentioned in official reports. In summary, Nolan Wells was a promising young athlete from Mississippi with a strong work ethic, a positive reputation, and a bright future ahead. A loss that has deeply affected his family, friends, and the community. And it goes on to state here that the family has now are getting Benjamin Crump to help them with the investigation. Families is seeking an independent autopsy for Nolan, um, which I think is fair. Many times we have pretty much taken the short end of the stick when it comes to these kind of situations. Most cases like this, when it happens in an all white area, mostly white area, white friends who are pretty well connected into the community, from what I understand, is a judge. One of the kids' mothers is a judge, and possibly, there could be other kids who have parents who have are very reputable in that community. So we all know how they protect their own, and most times a black life, it isn't that severe for them. They don't matter to them too much. They can't really empathize with the family because they're black. So a lot of times these things in these small communities like this, they get swept under the rug. They don't feel like the kid, deserves the type of resources it takes to complete a very solid, investigation. They'd rather say that, the kid committed suicide or he got drunk. But they're going to find some way to pin it on himself. He's going to be the cause of his own death. I'm sure there'll be some way, which I think they already have said something about that to that effect. It's way too early to know how and what happened unless you have information from those kids. And if you do, let us know because, the family first deserves to know everything that's going on. I can't imagine how they feel losing a loved one, a son, a young son like that. Had to be devastating. They deserve answers, and so do the general public. We need to know if there's people out here who are capable of killing, drowning other people. We need to get them off the street. So please take this serious. But this is definitely a serious situation, and I can kind of get an idea of what might have happened. And allow me to get personal here for a moment. I am the product of an interracial relationship. My mom, black, and a white father. Uh, I have had many interactions with white people, it's safe to say. And, I've just been around a lot of white people. I had white friends early on in life, and I learned a lot from having those white friends. I think it's important to always get to know people who live on the other side of the tracks, if you want to say. Um, but yeah, since I am mixed, even though by all intents and purposes I'm a black man, I look like a black person, so society is going to treat me as such. So growing up in the way I have and been having white friends and being that token black friend in many occasions, I do know that when you, as a young black man, find yourself in a situation where you're outnumbered, you're a minority, and everyone that's around you is white, uh, things can get a little bit, you might experience a little difference in their behavior. Um, they seem to be a little bit more funky attitude, I would say, and to put it that way, um, there's little, it's no difference. Basically, they don't really care about you, and when they're in numbers, they don't mind showing you that they don't care about you. In this day and age, in this society, in this heated America, racially divided, heavily racially divided, more so than I can ever in my life, I would say. I don't think it's ever been this bad. So in the America that we're living in today, seeing as how blacks, people of color really have been a target lately. And there's been a lot of, this thing is big, the difference between Trump supporters and uh, people who do not support Trump. There's, you know, a lot of vitriol, a lot of animosity towards each other. So much so that if a white person had an opportunity because they hate black people so much and they're so racist, if they had an opportunity to do something to do harm to a black man, maybe they might, take up that opportunity and to do something. And maybe the intent wasn't to kill, but there was enough to cause a death, possibly, and you want to cover it up. I think something like that may have happened. I also keep hearing about him being around or meeting some girl there. And just judging by the crowd that I saw at the parties that were there that he was, involved in, it didn't seem to be many other people of color there. I'd rather bet that the girlfriend or whoever it was that he was meeting was white. And again, in this day and age, in this climate that we're in, a black man and a white woman might not have been seen as kosher, and a person might have had an opportunity. You're on an island. You're literally on a island, feel like you can get away with anything, really, because all of the evidence is overseas, basically. Even if it's just 12 miles off the coast, that's 12 miles further than your conscience might venture. So I feel like that there's a good possibility that something bad happened, something very unsavory happened to this kid, and people are keeping their mouths shut. And I don't know why. It could be pressure. It could be, hey, we got to stick together. We're white. He's black. We got to stick together. Um, that kind of thing. Who knows? But I do know one thing, that when you are outnumbered as a black kid, a black boy, a young black man, when you're outnumbered and you have people who have a lot of hatred in their heart around you, and there's alcohol and drugs involved, and an island where we can easily dispose of you, where we're technically off land and can kind of be like an outlaw, Lord of the Flies type of situation. So I can get away with anything pretty much now. Oh, you're here to see a white girl? Oh, I'll show you something type of deal. And I don't know. That's what I think, though. That's what I feel. But anyway, I do hope that they get more answers soon, and can help this grieving family try to understand what happened to their son. It's just mind blowing. I couldn't fathom to think about how that would feel, to lose your son in such a way where you feel like he's safe. He's with his friends. Uh, from what it sounds like, the kid was very reputable, had a very good, reputation, and well liked. Great athlete, student. You feel safe allowing him to go out. So I'm going to make a bit of an addendum to what I said earlier. Another theory just kind of popped up just from looking at pictures and things that I just kind of started looking, and maybe there's some love triangle mess. He was there on the island. People keep saying to see a girl. Every picture that I've looked at from that day, he's with this one kid, this one white boy. They're hugged up pretty much. They look like a couple. Um, and this article I'm reading here actually kind of goes in depth. This is from uh, the Sun Herald, and it speaks about his friends a little bit more. It says, to his friends, Nolan Wales was more than just a teammate. He was a brother and a role model, described as an easygoing man with a calming influence. He was the type of person who would break up arguments, not start them. This sentiment was echoed by multiple friends, with one telling the Sun Herald that Nolan could speak up, spark up a whole room. He was remembered as being friendly to everyone, always wearing a smile and treating people with respect. And I believe that's true. Every picture I've seen, and it could be a biased thing, but every picture I've seen, the kid's smiling and just looks like a good, you know, quality, the type of guy you'd want your daughter to date. Here it talks about his best friend, which I don't believe is discussing the white guy in the pictures because of the name. My black caller ID says that his best friend, 17-year-old Javon Williams, shared one of the most heartbreaking details. Williams was supposed to ride to Horn Island on the same boat as Nolan, but it filled up too fast. He took a different boat and saw Nolan on the island. Their final exchange was simple but profound. As soon as we get out there, he told me that he loved me, Williams recalled. And in another chilling detail, another friend of his, another close friend, it says Trace Carter spoke to Nolan just before the trip. His parting words were, just hit me up when you get back. Just be careful, bro. Watch out for yourself. Nolan's reply, a casual, I got you, I'll hit you up later, now carries heavy weight. These statements, along with an outpouring of tributes on social media, underscore the deep bond Nolan shared with his friends and the profound sense of loss that they are experiencing. Understanding who Nolan Xavier Wells was is essential to piecing together the timeline of his disappearance. He traveled to Horn Island with a group of friends, launching from a private dock in the Ocean Springs area. The group spent the day on the island, but when it came time to leave around 3:30, Nolan chose to stay behind. This is what they're saying. This is what they're claiming had happened. Uh, and this is stated by the sheriff. Sheriff John Ledbetter confirmed that his friends left the island without him. According to witnesses and friends, Nolan's decision to stay was motivated by a desire to talk to a girl and other friends. The young woman has been publicly identified only as Katie. Reports indicate she was among the last people seen with him, and the pair spent some time together before going their separate ways. Her mother later stated on social media that her daughter had been with Nolan that day, but left before he disappeared. How do you know? Were you there? And that she did not know what happened to him afterward. While speculation arose about a possible romantic connection, no public records or family statements have confirmed that Nolan had a girlfriend. And finally, it says the circumstances surrounding Nolan Xavier Wells' death have led his family to hire prominent civil rights attorney Benjamin Crump, who stated that they will not rest until every fact about what happened to Nolan on Horn Island, is brought to the light. Sheriff Ledbetter has noted that foul play is not currently suspected, though the investigation is active. Authorities are also investigating a viral video that allegedly shows a heated argument on the island that day. As the community mourns, the statements from Nolan's friends serve as powerful reminder of the vibrant life that was lost, a young man whose character spoke louder than his accomplishments. To me, the most central part of the case is the fact that he was last seen with a girl. Not saying that the woman or the girl had anything to do with it, but like I said before, Katie, I'm sure, is white. There's some white caller ideas on. The name Katie sounds like a white girl. And judging by the predominantly white Horn Island from the pictures I've seen, more than likely she was a white girl. He chose, supposedly, to stay behind. Hmm. So if he chose to do that, it must be that he had other ways to get back to shore. And I can understand that. Apparently, there were more than one boat because one of his friends said that he saw that he was going to ride with Nolan, but the boat filled up and he took another one, the friend did, to get to the island. So um, it's a possibility that Nolan may have stayed behind and found a way back or was hoping to find a way back. But the strange thing is, he left his phone on the boat, supposedly. But they said the other kid that he was with also left his phone on the boat but came back to retrieve it, which leads me to believe that Nolan must have gotten missing or whatever happened to him and he was unable to come back to retrieve his phone. That kind of sounds about right to me. That kind of checks. I can kind of see that. Sometimes if you're going to be enjoying any kind of water sports, you may just leave your phone somewhere dry in a boat or on land. So the fact that the kids had his phone, I think that they said that they didn't know that the phone was even on the boat. The parents did the Find My Phone feature and was able to locate the phone in that way, and then were able to retrieve it from the friends, is what I'm hearing. But in general, just the case just sounds fishy. No pun intended. And I really do feel like that maybe the sheriff of that community is jumping to conclusions before everything's really out. The notion that he committed suicide, I've heard thrown around. The notion that he got drunk and he drowned, that doesn't check out. He was a smart kid. It doesn't sound like the type that would get that sloppy drunk, knowing that he cannot swim that well, get out in the water and get himself drowned. I don't feel like that is possible. I'm not going to say it's not possible, but I don't feel like that's very feasible of a conclusion to have. But hey, But this case is ever evolving. We're going to find out more. Just need to wait and see what happens. But I think it's very important that we continue to keep this out into the public and making sure that it's well known, like what's going on, and don't let this just get swept under the rug like a lot of times these kinds of cases are, unfortunately.
Please like and subscribe to the Newland News Network. Thank you so much for your support.